Hello and welcome back to this space shooter tutorial. In this episode we're going to focus on creating the enemy class and the enemy spawner. Okay, so first thing we would want to do is create our enemy script. So go into your scripts folders, right click, go to create, C# script, type in enemy. I apologise if my throat gives in, it's still not great, but we shall persevere nonetheless. So what we'll do is we'll open that script up, wait for Visual Studio or Mono Develop to open. Now the enemy script will only be a small one, so it won't be much within this script. When it gets there, here we go. Okay, so first things first, we need speed for the enemy to move. So we'll do float speed. No, float, there we go. And in our start function we will set the speed to 2. Every float number needs an F at the end to recognize that it's a float. So our update will create a new vector 2 for our position, our enemy's position shall say. It's equal to transform dot position, and that new position is equal to a new vector 2 on our X, and on our Y minus the speed because it's going down, and times by time dot delta time, like so. And then we need to set our transform position, make sure it's equal to our position. There we go. Another vector 2, call it min. This is to check whether the enemy's in the camera bounds or not. Dot viewport to world point. There we go. New vector 2 0 0 semicolon. Now if our transform dot position of our enemy goes past the bottom of our camera, then we need to destroy that game object, and that's our enemy script done. So Control S for that. Come back into Unity, make sure you got no errors. We do not. Okay, so what I will do now is I will bring in a enemy sprite. So this is my enemy sprite I'm going to use. I think I've changed it round from the last vid. Doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to drag and drop this in, rename it enemy, and I'm just going to scale it down like so. I'm also going to rotate it as well, so it's facing my eye, so that would be minus 180. There we go. Bring it up so it's not on screen to start with. A bit more. That's good enough for me. And then drag and drop the enemy script onto him. Press play to make sure it works. And here he comes down. Once he gets past that point, that should disappear. Voila. Awesome. Everything's working. So what I'm first going to do is create a prefab for this character. So go on a prefabs folder, drag and drop that in like so. Go here and delete that object. Okay, with that done, we're going to go to our scripts. We're going to create a new one and call it spawner, like so. So come into here. Okay. So first thing we want to do is call our enemy game object. So public game object enemy like so. Have I missed something out? Because that should be highlighted. No, everything seems fine. I'll just do a quick save to check. No, everything's good. Okay, then we need a spawn rate. So, how long will it take them to spawn in? We'll go for 5F. Okay, so in our update, we won't have anything to start with. But we are going to need a new function called spawn enemy. So, okay, and in here, if I miss something off, no, everything seems fine. So, again, we're going to need camera bound, so vector 2. What I'll do is I shall copy and paste these from the player control as exactly the same. Saves me typing them out again. I would recommend you do the same. It's good for object-oriented design. And now this is where we're going to instantiate our enemy object prefab. So game object enemy equals game object, and then we're going to instantiate, which is not coming up, which is slightly concerning for me at the moment. Means I have to type everything in. So that's stating that we need to instantiate our enemy prefab. So an enemy dot is equal to the transform is its transform dot position. It's equal to a new vector 2 with a random range. So it will spawn in with a random range of our x and y boundaries of our camera. Min.x, max.x, and max.y. Just going to save that. Make sure everything's okay and you get no errors. Nope, get no errors, so everything's working at the moment. Okay, I'm just not getting IntelliSense working. Okay, next thing we want to do is call this function in our start function. So when the game starts, it calls the spawn enemy function. Okay, to do this, we're going to invoke that function. So spawn enemy. So that's calling the function name, and that should be a capital I. And we're going to call it the spawn rate. So after every 5 seconds, spawn an enemy, essentially. Okay. Next thing we want to do is note when our next spawn is going to be. So after one spawn, we need it to spawn again. So to do that, we'll create another function called next spawn. Create a new float called spawn seconds. So how long will it be before the next spawn in? So if our spawn rate is greater than 1f, then our spawn seconds has a random range of when it will spawn in. F spawn rate. There we go. Else spawn seconds equals 1f. Okay, and then we invoke our spawn enemy script again. Make sure it's in speech marks. Spawn enemy There we go. And then spawn seconds. There we go. Ooh, capital I there. Right then. And then we just need to call that new function in our spawn enemy. So next spawn like so. Control S to save, make sure you get no errors. We do not, so back into Unity. And now we're going to create one more function, and this is called void increase spawn rate. And what this will do is increase our spawn rate every 5 seconds or so. So in here we will have if spawn rate is greater than 1f, spawn rate minus minus, and if our spawn rate is equal to 1f, I'm going to cancel this invoke, so it won't keep spawning them over and over again. There we go. And then we just need one more. So in our start function, invoke repeating increase spawn rate. So starts on 0f. Ooh, semicolon in the wrong place. So what that will do is after every 15 seconds it will increase the spawn rate this every time. Okay, so after 15 seconds it will increase the spawn rate, then after another 15 it will increase again by 1. Okay, save that, go back into Unity. Okay, we need to create a new empty game object, create empty, and rename this enemy spawn. And drag this up and make sure it's out your game views so you won't be able to see the enemy straight away. Okay, and all we'll do is we shall drag our spawner onto it, and now it's looking for our enemy prefab, so go into your prefab, drag the enemy, click play, and that should spawn in. Okay, got an error. Spawn enemy couldn't be called. So let's just go back in there and see why it couldn't be called. Spawn enemy couldn't be called. And that's because I have spelt enemy wrong. Just there. Enemy. And I've also spelt it wrong there. So come back in, press clear, press play, and there it comes. Everything's working. By my player movement for some reason, everything is working. So why is my player not moving now? Interesting. Project. Has my player got player controller on? It does. Oh, I gave it 0 speed. That would be why then. Oh, slowest moving player ship ever. Do, 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 do. So everything seems to be working now. Okay, you could add another enemy spawner if you want, so just duplicate and just move it to where you want, so you could have a few scattered about the place. If you want it to be even more technical, you could make an array of all spawners you'd have in the scene. So then you could calculate when one comes in and when the other doesn't, etc. And that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, for my year 2s, I'll be showing you how to set up a class diagram, specifically using this game as a reference. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.